Aemon would like his eye back. I said Aemon would like his eye back. Would like his eye back, yeah, but Viserys says, fuck you. I'm in this letter to Boros Baratheon under the name of my mom. Fuck you, Aemon One-Eye, you stupid bastard. Oh shit, your dragon's way bigger than mine. Alright, so as you can tell from that intro, I'm going to be talking about the last scene of House of the Dragon Season 1. In my opinion, it just makes sense that House of the Dragon Season 1 will end with the Dance Over Shipbreaker Bay. Now, I've been saying this for over a year now, but before I jump into any of that, please do me a massive favor and slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be 420. Weed. Please, make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on as well. That way you'll get an alert every single time I drop a video throughout the wait for House of the Dragon Season 1, which isn't much longer now, but it's known on this channel as the Long Night. Now, Zeldrizas, Buzdari, Ixos, Daur. Alright, now typically I'd try to piece together a lot of the leaked pictures along with the leaked information and casting confirmations, all that good shit. I try to piece together what will happen in this scene, but I don't have to do that because there's source material for this. Ryan Kondo and Miguel Sapochnik are very much following the outline laid for us in Fire and Blood. So basically, what will likely happen in the later episodes of the season, maybe not all in episode 9 or 10, but close, right? So 7, 8, 9, and 10. It will start out, well, not necessarily start out, but about halfway, maybe episode 6, Aegon will be crowned in the Dragon Pit, right? That's what happens in the books. Rhaenyra is crowned over in Dragonstone, right? One of the first things that happens is Corlys Velaryon actually cuts off all trade to King's Landing, right? So he puts a blockade up in the narrow sea that cuts off trade to King's Landing because that's where Aegon's base of operation is. Jace, Jacaerys Velaryon, right? Rhaenyra's son, ends up flying north, and Lucerys flies south, right? So that's, I'll come back to that in a second. But another big first thing that happens alongside Corlys putting a blockade up to cut off trade from King's Landing is Daemon taking Harrenhal, along with several hostages and literally all the money of House Strong. It's a brilliant move. It really shows you his battle prowess. Daemon is amazing, and it'll show you. I'm sure several characters will mention this. We'll get dialogue that confirms this. But this was truly a brilliant move for war because he has hostages which are valuable to trade in case someone close to him is taken as a hostage. But also, it means that they haven't gone too far yet. Bloods haven't been shed. At this point in the story, is very much a war of ravens and threats, right? But one of the people that is there with Daemon at Harrenhal, and this is kind of interesting because I haven't talked about her too much, Alice Rivers, right? So she is one of the people that are there at Harrenhal when Daemon takes it, and she's said to be like a milkmaid. Basically, she was a milkmaid to a lot of the babies at Harrenhal. It's kind of crazy because she could have been a milkmaid to all of Lionel Strong's children, like the two confirmed heirs, Harwin and Larys, and then he had 2 daughters. There's also some people that say that Alice Rivers may actually be one of Lionel Strong's bastard daughters. But it's crazy that she was either the milkmaid, because that would mean that she would be very old, a lot older than how she actually looks, or she's one of his daughters. It adds to her intrigue. A lot of people say that she would bathe in blood, and it kind of just immediately, as soon as I heard of her character, I thought of Danelle Lawson, who is basically a part of the main series, part of Dunk and Egg, kind of. She's like mentioned to feast on human flesh and also bathe in blood to keep her youth. But basically, she shows up to help Bloodraven put an end to the second Blackfire Rebellion, which, when you compare it with the first one, is a bit of a fucking sham because it ended with a and the first Blackfire Rebellion ended with the Red Grass Field, which is like just this crazy. You got to read Dunk and Egg if you really want to know about it. I don't have enough time to talk about it in this video, but Mad Danelle Lawson reminded me of Alice Rivers, and it's interesting that she is a lover of Aemon, and she probably seduces him and maybe takes his virginity. Maybe not, but it is mentioned that they are lovers, and later on in the series, like the last season, when Aemon and Daemon die in the battle above the God's Eye, she's there and she's pregnant with his child, according to her. But getting way back on track here. Now, while Jace is flying north, I'll talk about, Rhaenyra's two heirs. Basically, when she's crowned, backtracking again, when she's crowned at Dragonstone, she sends her sons out to go and, do her dirty work for her. That's kind of something that Rhaenyra is, that's her specialty. But to be honest, that's what most rulers do. They don't go themselves asking for help. Remember, Jon even sent Davos and some other people to treat for him. Everyone does this. But anyway, Jace is said to have the more deadlier mission because he's flying up north. It's a longer journey, and Luke was sent south. It was supposed to be the safer mission because it was shorter, right? So Jace ends up stopping at the Vale. He has to lick the pussy of Jane Arryn in order to win the Vale to his mother's side. It's mentioned that she was a lesbian, but it's probably not true. It's mushroom salacious claims. Basically, she was like, look, my bro, if you want the Vale, you gotta lick my pussy till I climax, and then I'll help you and your mom. It depends on which version you want to see, but ultimately Jace ends up getting the Vale and Lady Jane Arryn to bend the knee. She basically says, I want dragon riders. Send me dragon riders. So then Aemon is in Storm's End at this point already, right? So Luke hasn't necessarily got there, but Aemon, it's mentioned in the history books that Aemon is already at Storm's End treating with Boros Baratheon. When he gets there, he's actually greeted with jousts and tourney, and Boros tells him that Rhaenyra has basically been shitting on House Baratheon. He also mentions that if he dies, his throne would go to his oldest son. Why should the Iron Throne be any different? And he kind of has a point there. But he's also a chauvinist. He's a douchebag. He's like, my daughters fight. Women fight. That's in their nature, right? And then he basically offers Aemon One-Eye one of his daughters. It's mentioned that Aemon kisses all four of them before choosing. But then, shortly after that, Luke arrives. And when Lucerys arrives at Storm's End, Aemon and Boros are actually arguing over a wedding date for his daughter in Aemon. It isn't specifically mentioned which daughter Aemon picks, but I'm pretty sure that will be one of the things that the show expands upon. It kind of doesn't matter because he ultimately gets with Alice Rivers, but that character will play a role in the show. Also, this is something to note, too. I kind of skipped over it. Before Luke actually goes and meets with Boros and Aemon, right? He doesn't expect Aemon to be there. But his dragon, Arrax, refuses to land because Vhagar, one of the dragons that was around during Aegon's conquest, the biggest dragon in the world at this time, lets out a massive roar. It's mentioned that Lucerys has to whip his dragon insanely amounts of times in order to force Arrax to land to the ground. So that just shows you ahead of time what's about to happen. So basically, when Aemon confronts Luke, he asked if he is wet because of the rain or if it's because he pissed himself in fear. Obviously, Luke, being the more princely lad, ignores Aemon and hands his mom's letter to Boros. And it's funny because Boros can't even read. Boros hands his letter to his maester. His maester whispers in his ear. And something I forgot to mention, Boros is like psychotic. It said that his mood blows with the wind, so you kind of got to catch him at the right time if you want to get him to do something that you want. And it seemed like Luke caught him at the wrong time. But basically, Boros ends up telling Luke, "I am not a dog to be beckoned. Fuck off." So Luke then leaves. Aemon steps in front of him and confronts him with his sword, and he's like, "Look, cut that eye out. The debt that you owe me needs to be paid right now." And then Boros interjects and he's like, "Not in my house." and Luke leaves and goes to Mount Arrax. Now, just kind of wrapping this up here, after Luke is like mounting Arrax and leaving, right after that, one of Boros' daughters eggs on Aemon by telling him, "Look, I'm glad you picked my sister because I would want a man who has all his parts." Aemon then asks for leave, runs out the door, mounts on Vhagar, and there's a massive storm outside, and it's mentioned that Arrax is having trouble staying aloft, or maybe he would have been able to get away from Vhagar. Vhagar met Arrax above Shipbreaker Bay, and if there was a fight, it probably ended quick as shit, because Arrax is taken down and Luke dies. Now, this is an interesting part. Before we get out of here, one of the things that the show could potentially do is change his death a bit. Some say that Lucerys' corpse washed up ashore after Arrax's head and neck washed up a few days later, right? Munkin says that he died with Arrax, and the War of the Ravens came to an end and Fire and Blood began. But I think My favorite one is that Luke survived with no memory of who he was and spent the rest of his life living a simple fisherman. I don't know. To me, that just seems waxes poetic. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want more content, check out some of the live streams that I did a few weeks back. I talk about House of the Dragon for like 2 hours in some of those videos. Thank you for watching, and thank you for slapping a like on this video if you did. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews. Long night. Saltrizas postari exos daor.